Srimad Devi Bhagavat. If you want to know who Adi Shakti is, read Devi Bhagavat, said by Her Holiness Srimataji Nirmala Devi.
Sankalpam Mama Atmanaha Sahajayogi Kutumbanam Atmonnati Prityartham Moksha Prapti Prityartham Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devyai Pujanam Karishe. The Holy Recital of Srimad Devi Bhagavat.
Chapter 2, Episodes 5 to 6. Bhishma's vow, marriage of Satyavati to Raja Shantanu, birth of the Kauravas and Pandavas. The Rishi said, O sage with the long hair, you have answered all our queries regarding the curse on the Vasus and them taking human birth, and also regarding the birth of Bhishma. O learned one, who is conversant with religious duties and customs, kindly tell us how King Shantanu got married to Satyavati, mother of Vedavyas, and who was chaste and from whose body auspicious fragrance emitted. Shantanu was the most supreme monarch, and she was brought up in a boatman's house. What was the reason that made him offer her marriage? Please enlighten us on this. Suji said, King Shantanu was very fond of hunting. He roamed the forest for 4 years. He was always accompanied by Prince Bhishma. He enjoyed his son's company in the same way that Sri Shiva enjoyed the company of Kartikeya. One day, while hunting, he reached the bank of the holy river Yamuna. He suddenly got a fragrance from an unknown source. He tried to locate it. He thought, even the flowers of Parijat, Kasturi, Champa, Malati, and Kevra do not emit such a perfume. From where has the breeze wafted this fragrance? He began to wander here and there and tried to follow the breeze. When he reached the bank of the river, he saw a beautiful maiden sitting there. She had decorated herself and was wearing smoky, misty garments. He was surprised to see such a beauty of face and limb. The whole place was filled with this most excellent fragrance. He was fascinated and wondered if she was a goddess, a human, a Gandharva, or a Nagakanya. He spoke thus to the maiden. Who are you? Who is your father? From where have you come? Is there anyone else with you? Please tell me. Are you married or not? What are your dreams and desires? Please give me information about yourself. The lotus-eyed maiden smiled and said, O king, know this. I am the daughter of the head boatman. My father asked me to sit here. I row a boat on these waters. This is our occupation. My father has just gone home. This is the truth. The king said, I am a king of the Kuru clan, O doe-eyed maiden. There is no woman in my house. You please grace the position of being my wife. I will be favorable towards you. My wife has left, and since then I have not married. The king spoke in humble and sweet tones. Satyavati, who was chaste and pure and full of sattvic qualities, got courage and felt calm. She said, I accept all the praises you have spoken about me. Whatever you desire should happen, but I am not free to make my own decisions. My father can give permission. You may please meet him and place your proposal before him. I am not a woman of loose morals. I am the daughter of a chief. I only obey his commands. If he agrees, we can get married, but we must observe the rules of our clan. Suji says, accordingly, King Shantanu went to the boatman's house with his offer of marriage. When the boatman saw him coming, he was surprised. He offered salutations to the king and said, I am greatly honored that you have stepped into my house. Please command me, what can I do for you? The king said, O noble one, if it is possible, please give your daughter in marriage to me. I speak the truth. The boatman said, O king, if you are asking for this jewel of a daughter, I will certainly give her to you. A daughter is for giving away in marriage, and I cannot keep her forever. But, O king, there is one condition. The son born to this maiden will be the king after you. Under no condition must the throne go to any other sons of yours. Suji says, hearing the boatman's condition, the king was thrown into mental turmoil. He had already nominated Bhishma as heir to the throne. So, without replying, he left the boatman's house and returned to the palace. He was very sad and dejected. He could neither eat nor sleep. Seeing his father in a despondent state, Prince Bhishma asked him, Father, you are the king of kings. Which enemy is challenging you? I will this moment vanquish him. Please tell me the truth. Why are you so upset? If a son cannot discover his father's cause for worry and cannot remove that sorrow, then it is better he was not born. In the clan of Raghu, the most pleasing personality, Sri Rama, came as the son of King Dashrath. As ordered by his father, he renounced the throne and went into the forest. Together with Sri Sita and Lakshman, he lived on Chitrakoot mountain. Raja Harishchandra's son Rohit fulfilled his father's wishes and got sold. He worked as a slave in a Brahmin's house. O king, this body of mine belongs to you. Tell me what I must do to help. Am I inauspicious? In my lifetime, I cannot see you sad or distressed. What is troubling you? I will take my bow and arrows and demolish it, even if I die in the process. It will justify my well-being. If I am successful, then you can derive honor and pleasure from it. The son who is either not willing or able to remove the cause of his father's sufferings is worthy of contempt, and his birth is a waste. Suji says, hearing all this, King Shantanu was ashamed. He immediately said, I am deeply worried that you are the only son I have. Of course, you are strong, brave, valiant, illustrious, and never retreat from danger. But still, for a king of my position, having only one son is not enough. If there is a war and you fall on the battlefield, I will be left without an heir and without support. Son, this is the cause for my concern. This is why I am sad. Suji says, Bhishma called the trusted ministers and said, My father seems to be bashful. He is not telling me everything clearly. You please try to uncover the truth and let me know. I will immediately work towards removing all his troubles. The ministers approached King Shantanu and got the complete truth from him. They informed Bhishma. He immediately took some ministers and went to the head boatman's house. Bhishma said, O honorable chief, please give your auspicious daughter in marriage to my father. She will be my mother, and I will always honor and protect her. The boatman said, O fortunate one, you are the prince. You marry this maiden. I say this because it is apparent that as long as you live, her son cannot be king. Bhishma said, She is my mother. I do not wish to rule the kingdom. I speak the truth. Only her son will inherit the throne. The boatman said, I accept that you are speaking the truth, but any son of yours can use his right and strength to wrest the throne from my grandson. This is possible. Bhishma said, I hereby take a solemn oath that I will never marry. This will forever be the truth. My vow is irreversible. Suji says, hearing this powerful oath, the boatman gave his most beautiful daughter Satyavati to King Shantanu. This is how King Shantanu married Satyavati. He never ever came to know that she had earlier given birth to Vedavyas. Suji says, in this way, King Shantanu married Satyavati. They had two sons who died. Then by the favor of Vyasji, One widow of King Vichitravirya bore a son, but he was blind. He was called Dhritarashtra. This happened because the widow closed her eyes on beholding the lustrous Vedavyas. The second widow smeared her body with white sandal paste, and her son Pandu was afflicted with white skin. The third son of Vedavyas was born to a maiden servant. He was Vidur. Vidurji was dharmic, honest, truthful, and a most holy soul. Because of his blindness, Dhritarashtra was not made the king. Instead, the ministers placed Pandu on the throne. With the help of Bhishma, the most illustrious Pandu ruled the kingdom. The learned and intelligent Vidur was minister. Dhritarashtra had two wives. One was Gandhari, daughter of Subalraj. The other was Vaishya, daughter of a Vaishya. She managed the household affairs. Pandu, who was learned in the Vedas, had two wives. One was Kunti, daughter of Shursen. The other was Madri, born in the house of Madraj. Gandhari had 100 sons and Vaishya had a son. While Kunti was still a maiden in her father's house, she had a son by Surya called Karna. After this, she was married to Pandu. The rishis asked Surji, "O great Muni, what you have just told us is very curious and strange. That Kunti gave birth to her firstborn son and then only got married to Pandu. Please tell us how she begot Surya's son and still remained a maiden fit to marry King Pandu." Surji says, "O twice born souls, when Kunti was only 4 years old, Raja Kunti Bhoj asked for her from Shursen and brought her up as his own daughter. She was very beautiful. Ceremonies of offering oblations to the sacred fire were about to begin in the palace. Kunti had been instructed by Raja Kunti Bhoj to welcome the guests. It was the beginning of the rainy season and an auspicious hour of dawn. Sage Durvasa arrived. Kunti received him with all the prescribed formalities and respect. He was very pleased with the care and attention he received. He gave her a rare and precious mantra by which any of the gods could be invoked, and he would appear in person to fulfill a desire. After Sage Durvasa left, Kunti went to her apartments and began to wonder how the mantra worked and which devata she would invite. At that time, Surya was enthroned in the skies. Kunti's gaze fell on him. She uttered the mantra and invited the brilliant and dazzling sun god. No sooner had she done this than the sun god assumed the form of a handsome youth and stood before her. She began to tremble with fear. Then the doe-eyed maiden bowed with folded hands and said, "Lord, I thank you for appearing thus before me. Now you may return to your heavenly seat." The sun god said, "Kunti, you have used the great mantra and invited me, but you do not even welcome me or offer me a seat. I am under obligation to the mantra." Kunti said, "O Deva, you have full knowledge of the dharmas. Nothing is hidden from you. I am still a maiden. I place my head at your holy feet." The god Surya said, "Kunti, if you do not receive me, I will lay a curse upon the person who gave you this mantra, and you also will not escape the wrath of the curse. O beautiful one, know this truth. Your maiden status will remain undisturbed. Ordinary mortals will be unaware of this event. You will give birth to a son as radiant and brilliant as I am." After fulfilling the purpose of the mantra, the sun god returned to his abode. Kunti was with child and remained confined to her rooms. Her foster parents never discovered her state. Only a midwife knew and helped her when her son was born. He was extremely beautiful and was endowed with 2 beautiful earrings and a coat of divine protection, Kavach. He appeared like a second Surya or like Lord Kartikeya. The nurse picked up the baby and assured Kunti of all assistance. Then Kunti laid the baby in a small basket and spoke to him in farewell. "My son, I am extremely sorry. There is no other alternative for me. You are dearer to me than life, and still I have to give you up. You are possessed of all auspicious qualities. I am most unfortunate that I have to part with you. Devi Katyayani is the mother of the universe. May that Devi Bhagavati nourish you with nectar and take care of you. Your tiny face is as pleasant and lovable as a lotus. When will I ever set eyes upon you again? You are the son of Surya. Maybe in my previous births I did not worship adequately the mother of the three worlds, Bhagavati Katyayani. I did not worship her lotus feet. For that reason, I did not merit a happy fate. After I surrender you, I will go into the forest and perform penance. Sutji says, after hearing this, Kunti put the child into a basket and handed him over to the nurse. Then she waited in her father's house. The nurse had taken the child out of the gates when she met a Sooth, one who narrates ancient legends, named Adhirath. His wife Radha was also with him. They asked the nurse to give the child to them. They took him to their house and cared him. The child grew into the strong, powerful, and lustrous Karna. The maiden Kunti became the wife of Pandu. Pandu had one more wife, Madri, daughter of King Madraj. Once Pandu was out hunting, and by a terrible mistake he caused the death of a Muni, saint. At that time, the Muni had assumed the form of a deer and was engrossed in play with his mate. King Pandu killed the female deer. The Muni was enraged and pronounced a curse on Pandu. If the king ever had relationship with a woman, he would instantly die. King Pandu was very repentant, but he also knew that a sage's curse always took effect. He became very sad, abdicated his throne, and left for the forest. Both his wives were very chaste and virtuous, and accompanied him into the forest to look after him. He built a small abode on the banks of the holy river Ganga, where many other sages and saints had their ashrams. He had the good fortune to listen to scriptures and other holy discourses. During one such discourse, he heard a heavenly voice, "A childless person has no access. He forfeits the right to enter heaven. Therefore, it is of utmost importance to acquire a son in any possible way. There are 11 categories of son: begotten by yourself, grandson, in the absence of the husband, a son begotten by another member of the clan, son born posthumously, even though husband may be living, child begotten by another, child who is already conceived before marriage and born in the husband's home, child born in secret to a maiden in her father's house, child who has been bought by paying money, foundling, child received as a gift, and child acquired from poor and distressed parents by giving money. But after the first category, the others are progressively considered vile, base, and wretched. When Pandu heard this, he repeated it to Kunti. Kunti told him about the boon she had received from sage Durvasha and assured him that the mantra worked and that she would be able to invite any god to help them. Pandu gave her permission to use the mantra. She invoked the god Dharma and was blessed to be the mother of Yudhishthir. The god Vayu blessed her with the son Bhim, and Lord Indra blessed her with son Arjuna. Seeing this, Madri also wanted a son. So Pandu requested Kunti to teach Madri the mantra. When Madri invoked the mantra, the twin gods Ashwini Kumars appeared and blessed her with two sons, Nakul and Sahadev. In this way, the Pandava clan got its 5 princes born in the forest. One day, the ashram was very quiet and calm. Pandu looked at Madri and was overcome with desire. Death hovered above. Madri tried her best to dissuade him, but to no avail. Pandu fell down lifeless. Madri began to weep inconsolably. Kunti and all the princes and munis made arrangements for the funeral. Madri performed sati by entering the funeral pyre. She had given her 2 sons, Nakul and Sahadev, to Kunti, keeping Dharma as witness. Kunti and the 5 princes were taken to Hastinapur. Bhishma, Vidur, and Dhritarashtra came to console Kunti, as also many others had come. Since everyone was aware of the curse over Pandu, they wanted to know whose sons the princes were. Kunti replied, "These princes of the Kuru clan are the sons of the gods." To convince the people, Kunti prayed and invited the gods. They all appeared in the heavens and confirmed that the princes were verily their sons. Bhishma honored the princes, and together with the others, she began to live in Hastinapur. In this way, Kunti and her sons stayed in Hastinapur and were looked after by Bhishma.
The holy recital of Srimad Devi Bhagavat.
Jai Shrimati Ji.